Hello from USC. Connor Morrissette and Shotgun Spratling. We're back for another edition of Instant Analysis after USC's 10th practice of fall camp. Shotgun, so great to be with you again. Practice observations, and then we heard from Lincoln Riley afterwards. I guess we can start with some of those observations. What stood out to you today? We got to see a little more than usual today. It was nice.
Yeah, we got to see, as we're walking out, a little bit of team action, a little bit of competitive periods. Now, maybe they didn't want us to see those because they're trying to rush us out real quickly. But those are the periods that tell you the most. Okay, who's winning those one-on-one reps? Who's winning when you have team run periods and it's 3-on-3 type of thing? We only saw 1 or 2 reps, so we can't really take too much away from it. But it was good to see just a smidge of that. But what stood out to me more was what we saw during the drill work. It's just, from seeing Friday's practice, seeing this practice, the only 2 times I'll get to see them during fall camp, but it really stands out to me the attention to detail in the coaching, the teaching that is going on with the defense staff, because that's who I'm paying more attention to than the offense. I know the offense is going to run. Lincoln Riley's going to run. His offense is going to be smooth. It's going to work. Different quarterback, it doesn't matter. He's changed over quarterbacks, and they've still been successful. But what is going to be different about the defense, and seeing, listening to Doug Belk, coaching up the cornerbacks about in just the step-by-step process of how they're going about breaking down things, of turning your hips on certain things, to the back pedal on certain things, keeping your eyes in. All those small details are what really stood out to me. And I kind of mentioned this. I've been asked a bunch, the last couple of days. I've been down at the area code games talking with baseball coaches, and they'll ask me about the Trojans and want to know. And I said the defense. And I feel scarred from last year because the defense got to be better, right? It's like a year in a defense. I feel scarred saying it, but the defense feels like it's going to be better because of the teaching that is going on. They have a bunch of teachers on that defensive side of the ball, and I feel like with that, you're going to step forward as long as the scheme isn't completely, just blowing coverages everywhere. It's just a terrible scheme, and I don't think you'll get that from Denton Lynn with his background, his track record, even though it is a short track record. But the teaching that is going on tells me that guys will be better prepared when they get to Sunday for the first game, but then Saturday is the rest of the season. I think that's the biggest thing that kind of has stood out from watching them. The 2 practices I've seen is just listen to Matt Ince, listen to Bryson Allen Williams, who's helping out with the linebackers. They were going through a drill today. We got to see the linebackers going through a pass rush drill. And kind of swatting the tackling dummies and doing things that you would see a defensive lineman normally do. And Coach Ball, as he's called, Bryson Allen Williams, was an edge rusher in college and was a blue chip recruit coming out of high school. But listen to him talk about teaching up the linebackers. This is how you need to focus on your hips, focus on this as you're going through. So those small things are the things that really have stood out the 2 practices I've seen.
And it's interesting to see when they break out into specific position drills where guys line up. I feel like with Chris, we've talked a lot about where in the world is Anthony Beavers, because he's taken some linebacker reps, some corner reps today. He was in the mix with Bookie Radley-Hiles, the defensive graduate assistant, along with Greedy Vance and Isaiah Rubin. So maybe he's getting some reps at nickel because that was the smaller defensive back group. And then with the corners, we saw Jalen Smith taking some reps there. Lincoln Riley said after practice he's repping all over, but corner is a spot where they want to see him. And it looks like now that he's fully healthy, he's repping there, which is interesting. Braylon Conley, the true freshman, Riley said he's standing out there with the cornerbacks as well. I think there's so much versatility in that defensive back room. And Riley even said sometimes on the field they're separate, but in the meeting rooms watching film, a lot of times they're all together. And that versatility, like Jalen Smith could really play any of the 3 spots, and Greedy Vance can move around. And Isaiah Rubin, it looks like he's probably not going to play too much, but he could be a nickel. He was recruited as a corner as well. I like the versatility that I'm seeing, and with Denton Lynn's background as a safeties coach in the NFL, it's hard not to feel good about that spot.
Yeah, the secondary, there's a lot of moving pieces there for sure. And you think about someone like Jalen Smith, they didn't get a chance to move him around in the spring because he was banged up. So I think, unfortunately for Jalen Smith, he's trying to do what he would have done in the spring now, and they're trying to sample him out at different spots to feel, all right, what is going to be best in this defense? And can he learn everything so that we can move him around when there are injuries during the season, as you've seen, him do in the past. You've seen Max Williams in the past, have to move around from nickel back to safety, doing different things like that. So he's a guy they feel like he can learn it all, and we can move him in different spots, and he can have success there. But does that lend itself to, hey, you're the backup for all 5 positions versus you're being the starter at one of the positions? So that'll be something to keep an eye on. How long into camp do you go moving guys around before you say, all right, we have to really dial in, we have to focus on certain positions? Anthony Beaver's another guy who probably is not going to be in the starting lineup, but maybe he's the guy that backs up everything else. Do you do you, at one point in camp, do you say, all right, we need to lock in here because he's going to be the primary guy to come in if someone gets down, or we're going to have special packages for a guy like Anthony Beavers or Jalen Smith, when you want to get more DBs on the field in a goal line situation, where you think they're going to pass it, but you're crowded, so you want a guy that can play in the box as well. There's different situations where you may use guys, and it'll be interesting to see if they actually do have special packages and move guys around like that. A lot of coaches talk about that, but never actually do too much with it. You'll be one or two guys will get moved in for special things, but it'll be interesting to see as the fall camp continues to progress, if you guys, since I won't be here, are seeing guys kind of solidifying with the groups that they're going through drills and stuff with. But yeah, we did see the secondary split up today, and seeing Jalen Smith with the cornerbacks definitely did catch my eye as well. I love Jalen Smith. I think he's a guy with a huge upside. Again, I think he's only 20 years old right now. He's super young, even though he's 3 years in. So I think the future is very bright for him. It's just going to be interesting to see where he lines up and what they try to do with him where they do put him on the field.
The other thing to note with the defensive backs, John Humphrey, the cornerback transfer from UCLA, he'd been limited in practice up until Friday. Maybe over the weekend he was fully healthy, but the first time we were able to see him today, he's back and wearing the white jersey, so he's full go. He was asking Doug Belk some questions in some of the drills now that he's ready to rock, so that's really encouraging. I think we both think he's going to have a really big impact. Afterwards, talking to Lincoln Riley, we continue to hear really good things about Gavin Meyer, the defensive lineman transfer from Wyoming. It sounds like Meyer will have a role in the defense for sure, and Riley talked about how he's not only been good for what they're trying to do on the field, but culture-wise, he's exactly what they're looking for. And then just the defense overall, Shotgun, I asked Lincoln Riley what stood out to him when the team scrimmaged, and he said our defense dominated the offense for 3.5 quarters, penalty-free, really good red zone defense, limited the explosive plays. We've heard Riley talk before about defensive periods where we haven't been able to watch, and he said they've been really good, so taking him for his word on that, it sounds like the defense has taken a step. Of course, we got to see it play out, but how can you not feel good about the defense dominating the offense right now based off of last season?
Connor, you're not sold. Yeah, don't sugarcoat it. You're not sold that he's telling the truth, that the defense is playing well, but it is the beginning of camp. And, Lincoln Riley did say these things last year about the defense, but at the beginning of the camp, defenses are normally ahead of the offenses, so he may be being completely truthful. But I think that you feel more comfortable with this defense and the strides they're going to make to keep up with the offense as new things are being put in and stuff like that. Because remember when Denton Lynn, we talked to him before the season, he talked about, hey, it's going to be baby steps to begin with once again, because you got a bunch of new guys that come in the spring in the summer as well. So there's going to be building block days going along. So where is the defense as each scrimmage goes along? So they had a scrimmage over the weekend or on Friday, so where are they the next time they put on the pads and, go to the Coliseum or wherever they decide to scrimmage? That'll be the big question. Can you continue to have results? And I think a big part of that will be, what can Gavin Meyer do for them? What can Bear Alexander do? And that's Lincoln Riley was asked about Bear Alexander and his inconsistency in the past, and he says it's super important for him to find that consistency, not only for himself to be a potential, first or second day draft pick, but for their defense. If he is consistently what we've seen flashes of, it changes the whole dynamic of that defense. Now, you got to get somebody beside him that can help him out so he's not just constantly getting double-teamed or even triple-teamed if he's the only guy that does anything. And maybe that's where Gavin Meyer steps in. Maybe that's where we see Kobe Pepe season. Maybe it's one of the young guys, Carlin Jones, Jade Abasiri. Those guys look the part. Obviously, a ton of teaching, watching Eric Henderson work with them, hand placement, all these different things. Will they be ready at the beginning of the season? I don't think that's necessarily the case. But as the season progresses, maybe we see those guys getting a little bit more. And if that front can hold up, and that's a big question. Yeah. Big question, because one big injury. If Bear Alexander goes down, who knows what this defense will look like. But if one big injury happens, how do you have someone that's able to step up? And that's the big question for them. If they can, if the defensive front can hold up, I feel like that back seven, you feel more and more confident. The way you're just listening to Matt Entz coach up those linebackers and the older guys coaching up the younger guys. I mean, Mason Cobb wearing a visor today looks great out there. Looks like the type of linebacker that you would see on a Sunday, just as far as look. Now, we'll see what he does with his play. I expect him to have a big bounce back here. I feel like he's so much more comfortable in the defense. The way he's teaching other guys tells me that. So looking forward to seeing how it continues to progress. But yes, the first word out of scrimmage is that the defense had a really good good day, and also that they were penalty free. I think that's really big because that goes to the discipline of the team, and we did see a lot of issues with that in the past, and small things that snowball into bigger things. So it's an opening thing, and it's the head coach telling you. So we'll have to take him at his word for now, until we can see it with our own eyes, but we'll see as they progress and what the players say the next couple of days. Unfortunately, did not get any players today. I'm upset because I will be traveling out tonight, but would like to have heard some of their thoughts on it. But we'll be watching all the videos that we'll have on USCFootball.com's YouTube to see what the players have to say about the scrimmages and how things are going through kind of halfway through camp now, almost. So it's now it's the time where the grind is set in, and how do you figure out how do you push yourself through it, and how do you continue to improve rather than plateauing at about this point in camp.
On Cobb at USC Media Day, he said, I'm having fun playing linebacker again, and it certainly looks that way. And then the Bear Alexander comments from Lincoln Riley, I think we took that a little differently, and people can watch the interview with Riley. That'll be up on our YouTube channel, probably the next video alongside this one. I felt like it was not a big challenge, but I felt like he challenged Bear Alexander, Riley, a little bit, and said he missed all the spring, and he knows what he needs to do this camp to go from being a good player to a great player. And he talked about consistency, like you mentioned, how great players, it's not just a great play here or there, but they do the little things really well consistently, and they're bad plays. They're not really that bad because the level is so high, and that's sort of how I took that, and I think that's really important because Bear, if he's bought in and he's ready to go, you just don't have that many people like him on this defense, maybe really not anyone, let's be totally honest, and he just can really take you from like an average defense where if he's really doing a lot of great things, he'll free up other people to get to the quarterback, and he's such an important piece. So I took that from Riley as just a challenge to Alexander, and we'll see how he responds.
Yeah, he's a game changer potentially for them. He can get into the backfield. He can take up multiple blocks to allow other people to do things. But that's what you have to do with your stars, is you have to challenge them. I know it's a player, driven a market now, and everyone has to be coddled a little bit, and there's NIL, and players get money. The best coaches can still challenge their players to get the most out of them because that's what it takes. You listen to any player that has had success, and they will tell you about someone who has challenged them along the way. No one is just naturally that gifted, and they just go through things and they do it all on their own. And no, it takes coaching to challenge you. It takes people to keep you on the right path, the right track, and to make sure that you're doing the small things correctly. And that, again, goes back to the teaching moments that we see from Eric Henderson, Sean Nua, that whole defensive staff, the small things that are being attacked. I think that, it's key for USC's defense for Bear Alexander to have a good year, but it's key for him as well. And I think he's going to take that as a challenge. And, those are the type of players you expect to take a step forward every single year. And I think it's a big year for him, just as Lincoln Riley said. So we'll see, how it kind of plays out and if he's ready and willing to rise up to that challenge.
Between watching practice or anything you heard from Riley, we can finish with your final thoughts. Shotgun, it was interesting to me right when we were walking out, Gino Quinones was taking some reps at center, even though Jonah Monheim's totally healthy with the rest of the first-team offensive line. That stood out to me. Any final thoughts either from Riley or from what you saw today?
No, I think Gino is going to be the guy as the backup center. Yeah. I know that Killian O'Connor did a nice job last year as the backup, but if there is an injury with Jonah, I think, or they decide to move Jonah around because of another injury, I think big thing is seeing Elijah Page back out there. I know we were definitely concerned. We thought it was cramping, but you never know. You want to see him back out there, and because there's the limited depth on that offensive line, to see everyone back out there healthy. We didn't see Braylon Shelby again today. Lincoln Riley was asked about him, and he said that he's going to be coming along. It's camp, and you expect it, from the sounds of it, you expect him back by the first game. How long until you get him back? That's going to be important for his playing time. Same thing with Ms. Talele. We did not see him out there again today, so we didn't see him on Friday. If you want to be in the position battle, you need to be available. Your best ability is your availability when it comes to being in a position battle. So Braylon Shelby on the edge, one of those edge positions, you would think he's kind of falling a little bit back because he can't be out there at practice. And same thing at that right guard spot with Amos Talele and Alani Noah kind of battling for that one. So we'll see when those guys get back and how quickly they can catch up to potentially be in the mix to start on opening day.
It looks like Alani Noah is the guy at right guard right now, if we had to guess, just based on what you said with the availability. Makes all the difference. He's Shotgun Spratling. I'm Connor Morrissette. We'll be back with instant analysis from practice tomorrow. We'll see you then.